Welcome to The Backlash, a weekly exploration of America's awakening. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves, joined as always by Mr. Dave Riley. How you doing, Dave?
You know, I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. I'm having a great day.
Yeah.
I went to the DMV.
That sounds like a great day.
I set up an appointment for 11 a.m.
Yeah.
a week in advance.
Yeah.
And I sat in a chair behind a couple of black people for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Which delayed our pre-production meeting, which has got you on edge.
Well, yeah, it's other stuff too. I got a whopping 3 hours of sleep last night, so you guys are gonna have to bear with me. How are you doing, Cameron?
What's Dave wearing tonight? Is that like wilderness biker chic?
He wanted to match me.
It's pleather. I saw that Rebecca was wearing a very nice leather jacket, so I figured that I would wear my pleather jacket because...
What do they call those couples that wear the same clothing?
Gay. I don't know. Do you think Scott Bessent and his homosexual husband like do the matching outfits, matching like nightgowns?
Probably.
Probably.
I've tried to take some like themed family photos with my husband, and he will not do it. And you know, I respect him more for not doing it. Because every time I go on Instagram and I see a couple wearing matching pajamas with their kids, I'm like, that guy is whipped.
We did do the matching pajamas for our kids for Christmas.
Did you wear the matching pajamas?
I don't wear pajamas. I sleep naked.
Oh, God. This is not what the audience signed up for.
I'm kidding. I wear sweats.
Oh, that's
I
normal.
wear sweats to bed.
You can
like
find
a
us.
normal adult.
Call it twinning.
Twinning.
That's what it is.
Oh boy.
Twinning with my work husband. That's
Oy
awesome.
vey.
You can find us on X at Real Backlash, our website, thebacklash.net.
Whoa, there it is.
Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Send your super chats that will be read live at the end of our show to my YouTube channel, to our YouTube channel at Real Backlash. We're going to switch everything over to the Backlash channel.
We're warning you.
So please follow us on there because my channel is dead.
Well, it's got some sort of legacy algorithmic deboosting that's going on.
So our only chance for growth is to abandon you guys on the Blonde and the Belly of the Beast channel and move to the Real Backlash. And I really hope that you follow us there at Real Backlash. Follow us on Rumble.
We're gonna just like start cutting the stream off in like half. We gotta promote like a big story, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll do all this bullshit slop. And then cut the stream off before we get to the real story.
I'm not going to bait and switch, you guys. I'm not going to do that. Follow us on Rumble. That's Backlash Podcast.
Help us break 5,000 followers.
Yeah, that'd be really
We're so
cool.
close.
Yeah.
We're so
Find
close.
all of our links on thebacklash.net/subscribe. That's our Rumble, Apple, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We got it all. I don't know what Primal is.
Primal. Oh, Primal is great. It's a... oh, I can't show it to you. Anyway, it's a... oh, here it is, actually. It is a Bitcoin decentralized...
Oh, I should have known this was some Bitcoin thing.
And of course, it's not working properly.
We are
Like
going to
all
have some
things in
Bitcoin
crypto.
talk later.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to cut you off because we're trying to shorten up the show.
We're tightening things up here.
Yeah. Big thanks to ODGG Supply if you want to go blanky mode.
Or if you want to go ballistic mode.
Blanky and ballistics. ODGG Supply.
I was going to say they're over at SHOT Show right now in Las Vegas.
I don't know what that is.
They've got great content. Follow them at PNW Gorilla on X.
Above Time Coffee Roasters. That is small batch, handcrafted,
Hand
white
roasted.
positive coffee. Then we've got Atlas Bullion, the company that needs no introduction because everybody is scrambling to get their silver and gold. Idaho Tallow, that is skincare without endocrine disruptors. And last but not least, Antelope Hill. They are publishers of white positive literature.
White
now,
positive, historically accurate and necessary.
yes. I think they do have some fiction, though, don't they?
Oh, yeah. They've got like Let Them Look West.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great book.
Yeah. We
Stimulosis.
got our first hit piece as a group this week.
Did we?
On The Nation, a publication I'm not familiar with because their readership is so low. Are you familiar with The Nation, Cameron?
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, okay. So someone, I haven't seen anything from them in ages. I know that they're kind of like a legacy paper, but they did write a hit piece where they named us
And
specifically,
shamed us.
named us and shamed us. Let's pull up the Backlash thread first. Let's pull up one.
Yes.
So that we can give a little background. So you might have seen our interview with Fishback a few weeks ago, and James Fishback and Dave used his prescience, and by that I mean Basil. A tip from Basil.
I appropriately used my court eunuch. Big shout out to Basil. No, I think he likes it. He loves it.
Who gave us the scoop? We pushed him on the Christina Pushaw incident. And this week she was forced to resign after it was revealed that there were extensive ties between her, DeSantis, and Fishback's campaign. He lied flagrantly on our show.
Yes, he did. We've got the clip. We'll play the clip. It's very quick. And boom. It wasn't just DeSantis. There was like a whole team of people behind him, including a woman, I think her name is Christina Pushaw. What are your thoughts of Christina Pushaw? Does she have any connections or relationship with your campaign?
She doesn't. I found Christina to be a friend. I had dinner with her a couple of months ago and stayed in touch with her. What I would say is that the DeSantis administration, by and large, has been incredibly successful operation. I think there's always going to be disagreements within staff about how something is done or why it wasn't done a certain way. But I would judge the governor by what he's done for our state consistently in education, especially during COVID. And then on the Israel question, I certainly would not have met with Netanyahu like Jay Collins did.
It wasn't just DeSantis. Very good. So he lied.
Well done on that.
He lied. Day. We knew that Mr. Fishback had a meeting with Christina Pushaw, and there were rumors circling around the internet that Fishback was running as essentially like a foil for Byron Donalds, that he was controlled opposition, and that he would eventually be taking his voter lists and the people that he cultivates and forcing those people back onto the GOP reservation to vote for either the lieutenant governor in this election or to vote for Ron DeSantis again in 2030. And it very well may be that he was controlled opposition, that Christina Pushaw found him, sourced him, got him set up to run, but that, it's possible. The moment that he put that America First hat on, he kind of went off the reservation, and Christina was unable to reel him back in and get him to drop out.
We are speculating wildly, and I would like to speculate wildly a little bit more and say that it seems like they had some kind of personal relationship. She mentions explicitly, like, we did not have sex. I'm like, why would you say that? And then he took a screenshot of the call. She called him 28 times at 1 a.m.
Yes, we do have a standing invitation. Christina, if you're out there, if you're listening to us, let us know when your shift at McDonald's is over, and you can come on the show and tell your side of the story.
Yeah, really. She's not going to come on, nor is she listening. Let's pull up this Nation article. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of everybody. And I'm proud of the audience because they really sniffed this guy out.
Yes, immediately. You guys are smart.
You guys are smart. You guys are smart. The day before Carlson's interview, Fishback appeared on The Backlash. Hey, that's us. A YouTube show run by white nationalists in northern Idaho. It's North Idaho. On their table, the host displayed the culture of critique and anti-Semitic tone by white nationalist theorist Kevin McDonald. When asked if he would attend a Hanukkah celebration as Florida governor, a state with the largest Jewish population in the country, Fishback responded, "I would never attend any other religious celebration or service other than that of my unapologetic Christian faith." Very based, replied co-host Dave Riley, who helped organize the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, before working as an operative at the far right edge of Idaho politics. I think it's important to preserve the identity of heritage Americans, Fishback told the host. I think it is important to not let us be replaced. Heritage Americans is another recent white nationalist coinage. That's not true at all. A didactic, if completely incoherent, effort to elevate white American immigrants above their non-European counterparts. Later in the show, Riley's co-host, Rebecca Hargraves, whose online moniker is Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, was unwrapping Christmas gifts from fans. "This looks a little Third Reich-y," she exclaimed, briefly showing a Nazi flag to the camera.
That's making the rounds, by the way. I keep seeing, do you see is it Spokane Zionists for Israel? They're posting it everywhere. It's I
knew that would
Thank
get
you for the
clipped.
free promotion.
So anyway, thank you to The Nation for our first official hit piece as a group.
Yes.
My
the
mom
next
is
one
really proud.
Coming very soon from Mother Jones. So we are, of course, looking forward to that.
Forward to it. And thank you, Mr. Fishback, for coming on
We would
to
like,
the show.
look, we were very hard on him, but we would like to have him back. He can explain why he lied to us, and all will be forgiven. If you live in the state of Florida, vote for Fishback, but don't go on his mailing list. Do not donate money to him. You will wind up on a list of anti-Semites that's going to get turned over to the Ron DeSantis administration at some point. So be careful, be wise as serpents.
Yeah.
But hey, now next we got to do Casey Putsch.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Benny and Basil, Casey Putsch was on the Benny Basil show today.
Cool.
So looking forward to watching that.
Now, let's talk about somebody else that's definitely on a list of anti-Semites.
The real news.
The real news.
Now we're getting into the real news.
Okay, I really stepped in it by opining on this Nick Fuentes thing. I should have shut my mouth.
As usual.
And
Woman moment.
I just wish I hadn't said anything. Good Lord.
We've got a great segue.
Go ahead.
There's all this international backlash. And let's talk a little bit about the backlash, then I'll give you my thoughts on it.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
He's not talking about us.
Oh,
definitely not. So why was this such a big deal to everybody?
Why was there backlash?
I'll tell you why it was a big deal. And what we're talking about, of course, is Nick doing the club scene with the Tates, whom I detest. Sneeko, who else? Byron, that Sudanese weirdo, and Clavicular, who was a disaster of a person. Now, the reason that I even said anything about this is that I think that this looks like hell on earth. Not that it's not the club scene. I don't have a problem with like young men going to the club or whatever. I have a problem with this like hoes and drugs and multiracial bachelors aspect of this. Now, Nick, to his credit, he wasn't even drinking. And I don't think he hasn't been to a club before because he talked about it.
This is the first time that he's
talked about it on his show.
Yeah.
And everybody's saying that this seems like it was a real watershed moment for the dissident right, because people are like, this is lame. This is when Groypers jumped the shark. Dave, of course,
Who's that?
has another opinion.
Well, hold on. I mean, it is incredible, right? How guys go to the club, and this wasn't planned. You know, Nick talked about the whole back and forth with this, where he was going down to be on Tim Pool, and then...
Why is he going on Tim Pool? That's another thing.
I think it's a good thing that he is normalizing himself amongst an audience that has been propagandized against real America first.
Don't patronize me. I've got comments on this in a second.
Anyway, so he was going down there to meet with Tim Pool, last minute trip. And I guess what? Clavicular was hanging out with Sneeko. They call Nick. Nick gets invited to an Andrew Tate party. They go to the Tate party. They're all joking. Clavicular says, let's go to the club. They all go to the club. So it's not like it was like a planned thing. And like, this is not like activism. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are like, this is awful. This is blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it was dudes going to a club. Like,
yeah, but
this
what
wasn't
dudes?
like an act of resistance to like the New World Order or Jewry or anything like that.
Then why did they live stream it?
Because that's what they do. They're IRL live streamers. They live stream. Clavicular goes 12 hours a day. I'm surprised he doesn't live stream himself in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like,
He
it's
probably does.
nonstop. But so they go to the club, they get bottle service, and as a part of this whole thing, they ask for Kanye West's "Hail Hitler." That's going to get clipped to be played in the club, and it becomes international news. Here's a short clip from Miami News 7.
People laughing and celebrating Heil Hitler and Adolf Hitler. I cannot believe we're even seeing this and witnessing in Miami Beach.
A Miami Beach nightclub catching heat, accused of celebrating hate with a song about Hitler.
Absolute disgust.
Disgusted, horrified.
City leaders reacting to videos making the rounds on social media featuring the Kanye West song with the lyrics Heil Hitler over and over again. The same men
They
seen in the
bleep it?
club, known as controversial
They bleep
influencers, are also in a video from a limo. In that one, they're singing, and one of them is performing a Nazi salute.
The brown
Have
guy.
people in our city celebrating this. Animals.
This is obviously not welcome in Miami Beach. It should not be welcome anywhere in the world.
And by the way, I spoke to other club operators.
So, okay.
3 people got fired because of this.
So
Nick is banned from the club scene in Miami.
it's Miami Beach where you can get a prostitute, you can get like an ounce of coke, boof it with your friends in the clubs, whatever you want to. I'm joking, but you see,
when you put it in your butt.
That's when you put it in your butt. That's what gay people do, and there's a lot of gay people.
Oh, I get it. Okay, gotcha.
In the South Beach, Florida, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah: drugs, sex, prostitution,
Right.
And what they have a problem with is 30 seconds of a song being played that may have led a Jew who may or may not have even been in the club to feel momentarily uncomfortable. And for this, they like shut down Miami. I've got some news clippings here from the Detroit Jewish News, from Combat Anti-Semitism Movement, from Page 6, from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency. This became international news in like overnight. Unbelievable. And the thing that's crazy to me is not only did it expose that the nightclub owners were Jews, not only did it expose that the mayor and the leadership of Miami are all Jews, it exposes the system for how it operates. But there's a group of people on the internet who are anonymous, who don't use their real faces, who decided to make this entire thing about how Nick Fuentes is gay and brown and Mexican, and is this what white nationalism is? And it's like,
okay, there's a legitimate criticism here. Okay,
but I mean, all the people calling Nick names, he's brown, he's gay, whatever,
Let's leave-
they have nothing to say about how the entire city of Miami mobilized to condemn Nick and all of these other people.
That is a misrepresentation of the critics, of many of the critics of this.
Well, they misrepresent him.
Let's leave Nick out of it. You can't look at this picture and tell me that Browns have not usurped the white nationalist movement. We're totally infiltrated here, okay? That's the problem I have with this. I don't want to be represented by Andrew Tate, who's half black. I don't want to be represented by Sneeko, who's some like mystery meat guy.
Well, he's a Muslim anyway.
Look, no, this is not, I don't like it.
Who says that they represent us? They don't represent me.
They're representing us to the general public right now because they're affiliated with Nick. And Nick is the so-called leader of the white nationalist movement. Like, that's the problem I have with this. Are we a white movement, or are we not? And the question, and the answer to this is apparently not. We're not a white movement.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. So there's, among this new class of streamers, there are different audience segments, just like we have our own unique audience segment, which is primarily between the ages of 25 and 45 married men. That's where we lean heavy, right? Nick's audience is like 14 to 18 young men. Clavicular's audience is that. Sneeko's audience is largely brown, black, Muslim.
I hate this.
You've got the Tates, which are everywhere from 18 to 50, single men that are involved with the red pill thing. So there's like a coalition of different interest groups, and the one thing that they all share in common is their criticism of the state of Israel.
It's not enough, man. It's not enough.
Yeah, I know, but like, we are the movement. We are part of a decentralized group of people that are all working sometimes together, sometimes in parallel, sometimes there's beef one to another. There is, like, last time I checked, I have not signed any membership forms with like the white nationalist movement TM that, makes Nick the leader or anyone the leader. This whole thing is a decentralized resistance to the deracination of our people. There's other people though too that they're doing their own thing, like Sneeko. I don't know what he's doing. He's streaming. He's making money. He's Muslim. I don't exactly. He's not part of like the white nationalist movement.
I
don't know what
Cameron.
Myron's doing. Myron's a Fed.
Cameron looks suicidal because I know he hates engaging in slop political discourse. But my question for Cameron is, can we be a white nationalist movement if we have a bunch of people with minority interests deeply embedded in the white nationalist movement?
Well, we're in a state of becoming. We're not there's no movement per se.
Right.
There is an unconsciousness that's becoming conscious. And there are people on the internet that have played a role in that. Some of whom were in that clip that you saw. But they're e-celebrities, and e-celebrities do what e-celebrities do. They try to create hysteria and controversy in order to generate clicks. It's a business model.
There you go.
That's fine. That has nothing to do with what we're about. That has nothing to do with our program, which is focused on the substance of changing this country. The rest of that is irrelevant.
You see, I agree with Cam.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know who is saying that Myron is like the leader of the white nationalist movement. Like,
I did not say that.
I've got beef with the Tates. Like, I don't think that we should be, you know, fucking around with hoes, going to the club, getting drunk, doing like, but then again, I'm going to turn 37 years old on Saturday. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
We are old.
I was at the bar last night smoking a pipe, and like one of the kids that I was hanging out with, he was like 21.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm old now.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Is this just occurring to you?
It's slowly sinking in. It was also my daughter's 5th birthday yesterday, so it's sinking in how old I'm getting. But we've all got our own roles to play. We've all got our own stuff that we're doing. The point is to get involved how you can, where you are, everyone, everywhere, doing all of the things all the time. Total mass spectrum assault on the system, on globalism, on feminism, on the anti-white stuff, on the Zionist stuff. You know, we can do that. And what it strikes me as is all the people that are lining up to criticize Nick, they want to take his audience and milk it. They want the money that Nick is getting. It's all about clicks and ratings and e-drama, just like on television news. That's what
projection.
that's about.
Okay, we try to run a show that is solutions based.
True.
Okay, a lot of the people in the community really try to do that. When I see somebody that is supposedly a leader in the movement cross over into what I feel is predominantly personal enrichment, I start to get really worried. And if there's a hedonism aspect to that, I'm like, I don't know. And that's why my spidey senses are tingling. And I think it is a legitimate criticism.
No, I agree. And it's not like Nick watches the show, but I mean, you know, look, I had my time where I went to the clubs. I mean, everyone knows, maybe not, but a lot of people know my story, how I came out of addiction and, you know, found Catholicism, and then I found right-wing, you know, politics and got involved because it's like, I don't want what happened to me to happen to other people.
Right.
So I want to do something about this.
But you have a greater moral responsibility once you're in the movement.
Sure.
We need to be held to a higher standard. And I totally agree with this, like, spray the movement everywhere tactic. We need like a carefully cultivated, racially pure vanguard to be representative.
I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know. I think that these guys, the Tates, Nick, Myron, all of these people working together from their own, because this is like one of the other things that happens, right? Is like everybody in this country, they're all engaged in whatever conversation that they're engaged in. They're talking about sports. They're talking about baseball. They're talking about movies. They're talking about the club or whatever. And so the point is that we want to talk about Israel. We want to talk about the plight of white people in this country. And there's a very small group of people that are talking about that. So we've got to go out and grab people where they are with what they're talking about and then bring them over to present our ideas to them.
Yeah, I don't think these guys are thinking about the larger cause here.
Well, no, and listen.
I just want to say a couple things here. One is that we live in an age of chaos media. I think that's the best way to describe it. And chaos media thrives on the currency of social proof. Now, if you go to my YouTube channel, I made a video early on. It's a very sort of bare bones video, but it's called How Modern Men Fight. And one of the principles I talked about in that video is the importance of ignoring social proof. Social proof is the animating force of all of these people. It's what they're all about. They're not about substance. Now, sometimes there's overlap, right? That there are lots of good creators out there that are substantive, but it tends to be the case that the people that get to the very top are usually extremely superficial. And they're extremely superficial because in order to aggregate to very large numbers of people, you tend to have to dilute your message. That is something I have refused to do. We don't do it on this program because I don't think it's very productive. Ultimately, I think it is about the minority, not the majority, that is consequential. But as we churn through chaos media, which I regard as a transitional phase, we're trending towards a new kind of ethos, a new kind of paradigm that is going to reprioritize value based on substance. And substance is not reflected in how many social media followers you have, how many Instagram followers. That's all a bunch of bullshit. It's irrelevant. It just doesn't matter all that much. And unfortunately, a lot of people that get into these kinds of spaces, many of whom I've met, believe you me, having been to all kinds of countries all over the world, I've met many influencer types, and they ultimately become consumed by the addiction of social proof. It's all they think about all day long. So be very careful about fixating on how many followers somebody has. Try to listen instead to the substance of their argument, right? The substance of who they are as a human being. That's what's going to get you through. That's what's going to help you ascend, right? To help you grow spiritually and otherwise. And that is what we're about on this program.
I totally agree.
Very true. Very true. And listen, just for all the young kids out there, the young kids, God, I just made myself sound so
For all you youngsters.
I apologize. Listen, as someone who's gone to the clubs and I've done the drugs.
He
and
was
I've,
hip with the jive,
I did
guys.
all of that stuff. Save yourself some time, save yourself some money, and get a good book. Stay home. Save your money. You can get that bottle service at like a club. You know how much that costs?
$1,000?
Like thousands of dollars. You can go buy a very nice bottle of like Lafroig Scotch at your local liquor store. And well, maybe you wouldn't want to pour Lafroig in, but you could get some bottom shelf whiskey and brew a nice cup of above time coffee. Put it together, like a nice Irish
coffee, yeah.
And curl up with a book and stay at home and expand your mind and learn. And Above Time Coffee will help you do that. It will give you the focus. It will give you the energy necessary to slog through books like The Culture of Critique by Kevin MacDonald, which is also from...
Are you going to roll this into an Antelope Hill ad?
From Antelope Hill
Are you guys
Publishing.
watching
I
this?
mean, there is nothing better than drinking a cup of coffee and getting a good book and learning something. So you can go to Above Time Coffee for the best small batch hand roasted coffee imaginable, and then you can pair it together with a book from our friends at Antelope Hill Publishing. And instead of going to the club and instead of, dealing with these chopped huzz, as the youngins call them, instead of dealing with these gold digging whores, you can expand your mind and invest in yourself. So visit antelopehillpublishing.com. They are publishing books to help equip you to fight the anti-white regime, a new generation of dissidents. They've got a varied catalog, including newly updated and expanded third edition of Dr. Kevin MacDonald's Culture of Critique, the essential modern text on Jewish identity, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne's magnum opus, Greatness and Ruin, and the definitive scholarly examination of European exceptionalism, as well as books by Kerry Bolton, Paul Kersey, and Josh Neal. Antelope Hill recently brought David Irving's iconic Nuremberg, The Last Battle back into print, and they've got numerous translations of historical works from eras such as Fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and Civil War Spain, all previously unavailable in English. There are also plenty of books on contemporary issues such as transgenderism, the opioid crisis, and Christian nationalism, as well as history books, novels, and children's books. So whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books that you'll like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published with sleek modern cover art. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and fight for our cause. And what's even more is if you use promo code Backlash10 at both Antelope Hill and Above Time Coffee, you will get 10% off your order. And let me tell you, the come down from Above Time Coffee it's very nice. It's gentle. It gives you a lift up in the morning when you start your day.
It's like a smooth descent on a plane.
As opposed to Molly or like cocaine, where you just crash like a
Dave,
Boeing 747 into
I
a
gotta
twin
hand
tower.
it to you. Mozart composed Rembrandt painted, and you just
I read
spew
ads.
No, that was an unexpected, what we just witnessed here, an unexpected double segue, not rehearsed. Look at that.
I'm here all night.
Are you guys ready for some real news?
Actual news.
Cameron's over here like, oh,
Please, God.
what have
let's
I
get
done
to
here?
it.
In economic news,
Oh, geez.
the Japanese 40-year bond yields surged 4.2% on Tuesday from 3.94% on Monday. This is the first time they've ever crossed the 4% mark. Yields started the year at 3.6. Rates on 30 and 20-year bonds have also spiked. So what does this mean? Let's see what Scott Bessent has to say. Let's pull up clip 10.
Clip 10.
You really stuck the landing. Proud of you.
Are going down because the Japanese bond market had a 6 standard deviation move for the past 2 days. That would be in their 10-year bonds. I've been in touch with my economic counterparts in Japan and urged them to take the necessary measures to stabilize their bond market, but that's spilling all over into all bond markets. German yields are up, French yields are up, U.S. yields are up, again, it's mostly the Japanese bond market, got nothing to do with Greenland. I believe the markets are going down.
So here's, just so that people can visualize and see what we're talking about. This is a chart of the Japanese bond market. It was going absolutely nuts yesterday. We saw a sell-off in Bitcoin, the S&P 500, and was it the mid caps too? Mid caps also sold off, and it was looking a little crashy.
Yeah.
Looking a little crashy, and that was happening at the same time as everybody's, man, Greenland, man, what are we going to invade Greenland? And so what Bessent was saying there is that it had nothing to do with the Greenland stuff. Mm-hmm. It's because Japan is blowing the fuck up.
Right. And so Japan's second largest bank plans to purchase Japanese bonds. Yeah, thank you. Zero hedge for this. So that is the plan. That's how they're going to keep this ship afloat. And you might say, what does this mean to me? Can we pull up 11? This is Michael Purves, founder and CEO of Talbach and Capital Advisors. He does a really good spiel here. I'll just play to 37.
Yes. Thank you, Elon, for the internet.
Starlink is such ass.
Come on, man.
Do. I can tell you what it says if you'd like.
Well, hold on.
You know, I think what's really
course.
idiosyncratic with Japan right now is the fact that their 30-year bond is that yield is surging, right? And it's an interesting contrast because in the United States, for all the time we talk about the Fed, and the chair, and inflation, and all this interest rate stuff, the reality is that rate volatility in the U.S. has been extraordinarily low, perhaps until last night. There, and rate volatility overseas is doing, in Japan particularly, is doing very interesting things. I think so. What's happening is that we're kind of importing a little bit of rate volatility from Japan right now.
Paul, I gotta.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to play one more clip, and then I'm going to get Cameron in here to talk about this. This is Ray Dalio talking about the monetary order breaking down and fiat currency. Let's just watch this in its entirety, then we can get to some discussion questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's step back from the sensational and be clear about what I mean. The monetary order is breaking down. Okay. What I mean by the monetary order is that fiat currencies and debt as a storehold of wealth is not being held by central banks in the same way, and that there was a change. The biggest market to move last year was the gold market, far better than the tech markets and so on. And the U.S. markets underperformed foreign markets because of the fact you could see it in the numbers of the central banks and so on. So let's just look at the fact that on the other side of trade deficits and trade wars, there are capital and capital wars. And so as we're looking at that, and you reported what the stock market and so on, but you didn't report that the gold market is also up 3.
We did say that earlier this morning.
Okay.
It's up to record levels again, and silver.
Is you look at what is happening, and why it's happening and who's buying it. So let's just take a moment on that capital war issue, okay? We know that both the holders of US dollar denominated debt, which is money, and those who need it, the United States, are worried about each other, right? So if you have other countries who are holding it and they're worried about each other, and we're producing a lot of it, that's a big issue, right? So you have to explain what is going on with fiat currencies, generally speaking. And now if you take the conflicts, you can't ignore the possibility that capital wars, in other words, maybe there's not the same inclination to buy U.S. debt and so on. We at least need to talk about those possibilities and find out who is buying and selling what that is behind these market movements.
And what?
Okay, Cameron, you're our resident financial expert. So can you tell us, and in layman in the audience, what the move in the Japanese bond market portends for the dollar and for international trust in U.S. currency? And how does what Ray Dalio says here about the fiat collapse, how does this relate to the recent move in the bond market?
Yeah, so last week we talked about Iran, we talked about the Fed, we talked about a number of stories, all of which are of profound importance. And I sort of hinted last week that the most important of the stories might be undermining the Fed as an institution, even more important than a war in Iran, which is somewhat hard to believe. But if you pay attention, and a lot of you are beginning to pay attention because the three of us have emphasized how important the money system is from the inception of the podcast, that in fact, it is the base layer of everything. And this is going to be the theme of the show tonight. Then you'll know that the money system and everything that happens there ultimately is what creates the cascading effect that will change everything. It will disrupt the political system. It will undermine social cohesion. It will bring down governments. All manner of disruption is on the table. Why is that? Well, one of the reasons, ladies and gentlemen, is Japan. What is happening in the world today is nothing less than a monetary pole shift. The tectonic plates, if you will, of the financial system are moving and moving with increased speed, lethality, and violence. That is what is occurring. Now, about 15 years ago, when I was a master's degree student, I was studying international relations, and I was taken with a group of folks to Capitol Hill to receive some briefs about Congress, about at the time, it was largely focused on the so-called fiscal cliff. And you guys both probably remember this, at least vaguely. The fiscal cliff at the time was this issue of Bush-era tax cuts, which were set to expire. And these tax cuts go all the way back to 9/11, because if you recall, when 9/11 happened, it created a real shock to the system. And so what did the Republicans do? Well, the Republicans did what they always do. They said, let taxes be cut and stimulate. And that's what the Bush administration did. And so there were these massive tax cuts that were set to expire. That was one component. The other component was that in 2010, you'd had this massive wave election led by the Tea Party. The Tea Party was sort of the precursor to MAGA and Donald Trump, for those of you who do not know. And the Tea Party was led by fiscal hawks. These were people that said, look, our national debt is out of control. We've got to get a hold of fiscal spending. And they were pressuring the Speaker of the House at the time, whose name was Jim Boehner, who's a rather lackluster and uninspired politician, but that's neither here nor there. What that produced was something called the Budget Control Act, and that led to something called sequestration, which was a fancy way of saying they were trying to build in programmatic cuts to the budget to get control of federal spending, okay? So again, this was like 15 years ago. So you had Bush-era tax cuts that were set to expire. You had sequestration, all of which were creating a scenario in January of 2013, which was supposed to be this fiscal cliff, a sort of fiscal shock that would send us into recession. This was the fear at the time. And during this presentation, we had various folks that came in from the Congressional Research Service, the Congressional Budget Office. These are the folks that actually do the budgeting for the federal government. And believe it or not, they do an excellent job. And a lot of the work that they put out is very, very good. And they were very alarmed at the debt at the time, understandably so. Oh, those halcyon days of 2010 when we had just a minuscule debt. Of course, since it's gotten a lot worse. But one of the presenters who was asked about this by me, some very surgical questions, I might add, at the time, because I was sort of privy to the debt problem then. I said, look, this is a problem. Do you not think this could cause disruption to the political structure and so forth? And this presenter, who happened to be a lobbyist, said, absolutely not. We have no problems whatsoever. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, there's this country, it's called Japan, and Japan has solved all of these fiscal problems. So what did she mean? Well, there's a very good essay that was written. I put it in the chat for you, Dave. It's called The Japan Bomb. But essentially, what the Japanese, and this started in 1990 on the heels of a massive stock market crash, basically an asset bubble that rocked Japan. We talked about this before, but Tokyo real estate in the late 80s was worth more than the state of California. So you had this massive explosion in valuation in Japan. You had juice markets, and then all of a sudden, bang, they collapsed, sort of like 2008, but before 2008. And Japan decided to launch a massive monetary experiment. And just to be very clear, what they did is they created the template that all the major central banks around the world, and especially in the United States, would follow. And very specifically, what they created was zero interest rate policy, quantitative easing, yield curve control, negative rates, equity purchases by the central bank. So that's literally the Central Bank of Japan going into the stock market, the Nikkei in Japan, and buying Japanese stocks. And as it stands today, the Central Bank of Japan is a major stock owner in the Nikkei. They are, I think, 50% stakeholder in JGBs. Those are Japanese government bonds. By way of contrast, the Fed, at least officially, owns maybe 15% of U.S. Treasury bonds. Okay, so all of these things were done, these fancy words like quantitative easing and zero interest rate policy, et cetera, et cetera. All that did was it created very cheap money in Japan. Very, very low interest rates. We're talking 0 to 2% for decades. And what that meant is that Japanese pension holders, insurance companies, wealth funds, hedge funds, they needed to find a way to make money because you couldn't keep it in a bank. You couldn't earn interest. So what they did is they started lending this money out. They became the largest creditor nation in the world. And much of what they bought is in the United States. They bought U.S. Treasury bonds. They bought real estate. They bought stocks, all manner of financial investments. And not just in the United States, by the way, but all over the world, including Europe. Now, fast forward to today, post-COVID in 2020, as all of you know, when central banks around the world printed large amounts of money because we had these massive lockdowns on the heels of this pandemic, all of a sudden we got this thing called inflation. And inflation meant that you had to raise interest rates, or at least this is the playbook, right? So because you have more money out there than goods, all of a sudden prices rise. This is a problem. And so central banks started to raise rates. The problem is that sort of inverted this churn of money that comes from Japan and flows to the rest of the world. And so now what's happening is that is reversing. And just to put some numbers on this, because it's very speculative, what this has created is a sort of shadow investment pool of, it's estimated, $15 to $20 trillion. Okay, that is a very large amount of money. I mean, that's almost the size of the New York Stock Exchange itself. It is, I want to say, about, 15 to 20% of the U.S. Treasury bond market, which I think is about $130 $130 trillion, right? This is a very large amount of money. And so all that money is now deflating out of Western markets, out of the United States, out of our bond markets, out of our stock markets. And that means that interest rates are beginning to rise. They're rising everywhere. They're rising in Japan. They're rising in France. They're rising in Germany. They're rising in the United States. And what this means, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are on the cusp of a financial crisis, the likes of which we have not seen since the Great Depression. You are going to see the fiat dollar system and the yen, right? These are the two most important currencies in the world. You're seeing those currencies collapse in real time. That's what's happening. And what that means is that gold and silver, among other assets that hedge against inflation, are skyrocketing to the moon. This, in other words, is an earthquake. It is a cardiac arrest, as Ray Dalio said, and there isn't much we can do about it because the interests of the Japanese central bank and the interests of the German central bank and in the United States, they're all sort of working against one another now because the economies in these countries are not the same. So we are now in a new world. And I suspect that you're going to see a kind of default spiral, a contagion that's much bigger, that's much more lethal, that's much more violent than anything we saw in 2008. This is where we are.
And how do you expect that our federal government in particular is going to try to combat this?
Well, there are these things, and I'm not going to bore you with the minutia, but there are these things called swap markets, currency swap markets, where in order to protect currencies, what central banks do is they buy their currency to sort of prop it up. And so some of that is going on, but the problem is the numbers are just too big. They're too big. And what's beginning to happen is this thing in financial markets, they call it the bond vigilantes. These are hedge funds, investment firms that all of a sudden see a weakness. They see an opportunity to speculate against governments. Now, one George Soros, who I know all of you are familiar with, engaged in this kind of speculation, this sort of bond vigilante behavior against the Bank of England and the United Kingdom in the early 90s, and it made him enormous amounts of money. What you're going to see, Rebecca, are large capital formations that are going to start betting against governments. And that means that interest rates are going to start moving non-linearly. That means that you go from 2% to 5% to 10% and higher. This is a hurricane, and I don't believe it can be stopped. And I think it has already begun.
You know, I was just seeing something else. I mean, there was something that Trump apparently did. He directed the Fed to purchase a bunch of mortgage-backed securities, right? Did anyone else see this? Cameron, did you see this? Where basically, like, he was directing the Fed to, like, buy these mortgages off of Fannie and Freddie in the hopes that by buying the mortgages, interest rates for, new home loans would go down. But the opposite happened. Everybody was like, wait, time out. The government is having to step in to buy these bonds? Well, I don't want to touch that shit.
Right.
So they start selling, and the interest rates they're up. And by the way, I was taking a look. It's crazy to think that it's basically only been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since this Maduro thing, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, this is going to be great for America." And I remember making a point to look at how much I paid for gas that day, and I paid $2.18 for a gallon. As I was driving my daughter to school yesterday on the highway, I took note of the price of gas, and it was $2.37 a gallon. So it's up like 7 or 8% per gallon of gas in like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So actually, like, oil isn't going down because we went into Venezuela. And by the way, the United States, from what I understand, has doubled its output of, like, was it shale and natural gas and stuff like that in the past year or two. So what are we doing here? It's not going to stop. And, to add on to Cameron's point, the interest payments that we're dealing with right now, based on the current U.S. debt, is bigger than the entire budget for the military. We've got to roll over $9 trillion, and people do not want to touch our debt. And that's because, and we're seeing that specifically with China and all of these other countries that have this perpetual bid on gold. We talk about this every week. We're going to keep talking about it because, like in China, they warned their people to get 10 ounces of gold.
Yeah.
They said, you need gold. And as soon as people went out and started buying it, the exchanges ran out, and they said, well, now what do we do, boss? And boss said, go get silver. And now we've seen, I just had it up on the screen a second ago, these charts for gold and silver, which are just like, they look like meme coins at this point. And the crazy part about it is that when you look at what's going on in the news in America, no one's talking about this.
Seriously?
No. Like, I saw for the very first time a segment on like Squawk Box talking about silver, but that was like one segment.
Dude, they do look like meme coins. That is unreal.
They look like meme coins. Look at this. And the thing is that go to Walmart, go out into whatever places in your town and talk with people. No one's paying attention to this yet. Like Americans are zombified. We have no clue what's going on. And if you think these charts are crazy, wait until Americans start waking up to this. Because I can still go to the gold and silver store in town. I can still get gold and silver. Back in COVID, I remember when I was living in Indiana, for a 75-mile radius, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Cameron, what were you going to say?
So the premise of this show has been that we are in a different world, folks, that our politics is about to change, our economics are changing, identity is surging, all of these things. And what are some clues that suggest that that's the case? If you go back 10 years, when censorship really got started, it was a death sentence. And you guys know this better than I do. If you go back to the Daily Stormer and Andrew A. Anglin, when he was essentially disappeared from online media, that was a kind of toxicity that nobody wanted anything to do with. Then came Alex Jones, then Stefan Molyneux. It was a sort of domino effect. And it was very lethal. And at the time, as you guys know better than I do, there was this sense of hopelessness that, look, this is game over, right? The lights have been turned out. Now, fast forward to today. The first segment, we talked about this sort of this debacle in Miami. But the real takeaway is this going to stop any of the sort of JQ awareness or the awakening that some of these folks, whether you like them or not, are talking about? Absolutely not. It's not going to stop it because now the feedback loop has reversed, right? George Soros famously wrote a paper that's worth reading called Reflexivity. And he talks about these feedback loops that become manias. We're now in the early stages of a reversal, of an inversion. And we've seen that politically. All of a sudden, saying certain things that were toxic 10 years ago that would destroy you, unquestionably, that would debank you, deplatform you, right? All of a sudden, now they are a source of empowerment. Now they're a source of credibility to some degree. That is also happening in financial markets. And that means, and I'm going to anticipate comments that are going to come for this video and based on some of the things that we've said, well, they can just print money. No, they can't because of what Dave said a moment ago. They're trying to lower interest rates, and when they try to lower them, they go higher, right? Or they try to raise interest rates so that inflation falls, and they raise interest rates and inflation goes higher. All of a sudden, the monetary controls, the sort of control center has lost control of the situation because the feedback loop, the reflexivity is now churning in the opposite direction. This is a runaway freight train, folks. And Dave is 100% right that it hasn't really gotten much traction in the United States. And here's why. Even though people that are sharp and keen, that are paying attention to what's happening at the street level, they're talking about the bond market. They're talking about the real inflation on the street. They're talking about people that are using buy now, pay later just to make it through month by month. But people in the stock market, they don't care at all because they've been lulled into complacency by the next mania, which is the AI grift, the AI complex, the productivity miracle that's all of a sudden going to make all of these problems go away. I got news for you, folks. It's not. It's an illusion. And that illusion is now beginning to sort of soften, and it's going to die. And then the stock market will begin to process much of what we have discussed, and then it will reverse. And when it reverses, all of a sudden, we're going to go from being in a sort of emergency environment, which is what I think we're in now, to governments falling. And I think the Trump administration is going to fall. I've said this repeatedly. I stand by it. And a big reason is what's happening in Japan.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you're watching the show, you're still ahead of the curve, actually.
He's going to do it again.
I am going to do it again. You're still ahead of the curve. And I deal with this all the time. My wife and I talk about this. It's like I've got Cassandra syndrome. You know, I bought silver in 2014. I'm looking at the chart. I'm thinking, oh boy, like, you know, I'm glad I did that. But here's the thing. I think that this thing is over with gold and silver because I'm like hyper fixated and I'm paying attention. And I guess where I'm going with this is that the rest of the world hasn't woken up to this yet.
Yes.
Which makes you early. It makes you early. And you can actually take steps to protect yourself from the absolute craziness that is going to unfold in these markets. We're going to get into Davos in a second. They think that they've got this under control, and they don't. So while they are still lulled and they're trying to lull people back to sleep and they're bitching about Greenland, you can actually do something to take command of your financial future. And that is visiting atlasbullion.com/backlash and converting some of your fiat money, your worthless paper money, and you can buy gold and silver with it. They've got plans to get you buying no matter what the price is. They've got these subscription boxes you can get with silver for as low as $55 a month, gold as low as $200 a month. They've also got ways that you can protect your IRA and 401k by rolling it over into gold and, oh, never mind. On hold until further notice. I mean, listen, the IRAs and 401ks, that's all bullshit anyway. Let's be honest. I mean, like, you know, you want to talk about like centralization and the government's going to come and take our gold. Well, like if you put all of your money in a 401k in a centralized vault,
it'll be a lot easier.
Do you think the government is going to like dispatch the FBI to go door to door? Excuse me, do you have any gold or silver here? Fuck no. They're going to go to these vaults. They're going to go to the IRAs. They're going to go to these like, you know, certified deposit places, and they're just going to steal your shit, which is why it's so important to self-custody your own sovereign stash, your own stack, your own hoard of gold and silver from Atlas Bullion. Get the link on our website. Buying with them does help support this program. And, you know, if like, I get it. Like, I know my money's tight. I bet you're okay. No, your money's tight too. And the people watching the show are, you know, you wake up because you get whacked in the face. You realize, oh, I'm spending all this money on, you know, debt on your college degree, which was worthless, you know. So there's a lot of people that are struggling. But if you can find a way to put aside $500, $1,000 a month, pack it away into gold and silver, it'll actually be there for your kids and your grandkids, because the monetary, or as Ray Dalio said, the monetary order as we knew it is done. It's over. And we are in this in-between phase where reality hasn't caught up yet. People are still sleepwalking. So get some gold, get some silver, get protected.
One other thing I want to say just briefly, because this is, look, folks, a lot of what I just went through is sort of abstract and it's distant. And I use these terms that are a bit opaque, and I understand that. But one of the things that we learned from 2008, which nearly brought down the entire global economy, there's no kidding about that. That was a very serious financial event. But one of the things that we learned about it, and this is talked about in a book that gained a lot of traction a few years ago, is called The Great Taking. And it was written by David Webb. But one of the things we learned from 2008 is that if there is a financial crisis, your deposits, your money sitting in these banks is not your property. It belongs to the central banks, who will use that deposit, use your funds as capital to refinance or finance themselves when push comes to shove. And what that suggests is that you need to be very aware. You need to pay attention to how much money you have in the bank, the nature of the bank that you're working with. Do your homework. How exposed is that bank? To the degree that you can explore that and understand it, you need to pay attention, because when these things start to happen, as we showed in some of those charts, they happen like a light switch, right? You don't sort of gradually trend into a crisis. You go from 0 to 60 very quickly. So you need to be prepared for this. And if your money is in a centralized system, if it's in a money market fund, if it's in an IRA or a 401k, or if it's sitting in one of these fragile banks, you may not get it out, depending on how bad things get. So pay attention, listen to what we are saying, because this is happening. This is in progress. This is not a speculation. And you heard it from Ray Dalio, who's considered by many to be one of the most successful hedge fund managers in the history of Wall Street. And I think part of why he's saying what he's saying is because he knows what the hell I just said is true. And he's trying to warn you. He's trying to tell you this is happening.
Yep. And by the way, it's a good idea not just to get gold and silver, but also take a minute, calculate your monthly expenses, find out how much it costs for you to do your day-to-day, to live for a month or two, and go to your bank if you can, God willing, and take out enough cash to be able to hold you over for that. If it's, $2,000, $5,000, whatever it is, put it under your mattress. Yep. You're getting what? 0.01% interest on your money in the bank anyway. These banks aren't paying shit for interest. So take a little bit out. I mean, I had this issue. My daughter was talking to you earlier. We went to the Post Falls gun show this weekend.
She had a good time.
And, I wanted to bring some cash with me just in case there was something that caught my fancy. There wasn't, but actually there was, but it wasn't a gun. Some old World War II memorabilia, very, very based at the Post Falls gun show. But I went to the bank. I tried to make a withdrawal, and the bank is like, "You're only allowed to take out $500." I'm like, "What? That's my money." And then I found out that it was Martin Luther King Day, and they were like closed on Saturday. And I'm like, "Nigga, are we really celebrating a communist sodomite on Saturday? And I can't get it's my money, and I want it now." So anyway, wound up taking a bunch of money out of the bank and putting it under the bed. And that'll be there, and I'll forget about it. And God forbid there's a crisis, but I'll be prepared, and you should be too.
Thank you for that. We should talk about Davos.
Well, yeah.
Some incredible developments.
These people, these financial wizards, the financial scientists that have been trying to centrally plan all of this, which the wheels have come off of, by the way. So yeah, what are they saying at Davos these days?
So for those of you that are unaware, this week is the World Economic Forum in Davos, and I have not heard a peep about climate change. Have you?
I did hear a little bit, actually. What I heard was who's that? Howard Lutnick was going on and ripping a new one to all of these people in Europe about how they've got windmills and solar and blah, 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 but they don't, China's got all the battery tech. So what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
That's the message that I heard, was basically like making fun of the climate deniers or the climate changers or whatever.
It seems to me that they've shifted their entire focus to AI. There has been ongoing so much discussion of AI. We're going to get to that in a second. And man, okay, so I haven't quite finished Trump's speech. I'm like 75% of the way through it because I didn't listen to it on 2-speed like you did.
You got to listen to it
amateur
on
hour. And the things coming out of his mouth, it was delusion extraordinaire. I couldn't even believe what I was hearing even from Trump. It was astonishing. It was just self-aggrandizing nonsense. He seems totally delusional. I had to only pick like a few clips, which is sad because I encourage everybody to listen to the whole thing.
There's a lot there.
13 is a good one. Let's start there.
Let's start at number 13.
Possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse.
Cameron.
They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them. And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen. They predicted an overpopulation crisis in the 1960s, mass starvation in the 70s, and an end of oil in the 1990s. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country, or eradicate our liberty. America will always be the proud, strong, and unyielding bastion of freedom. To embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject
There we go.
And his delusions deepen. He talks about the stock market. Let's go to clip 14. There was so much to choose from.
Let's see here.
I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I just have to pause here. Okay. We played the clip earlier of Scott Bessent talking about how it has nothing to do with, and it's Greenland, by the way, Greenland, not Iceland. Hello. That it was the Greenland thing, and that's why the stock market dipped. And then we get Donald Trump like an hour later who gets up on stage and blatantly lies to everybody saying that it was the Greenland thing. That's why we're seeing the markets tank. Just brief reminder, holy shit, what the I
mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland.
Greenland.
So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Bro.
But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we have an unbelievable future in that stock. That stock market is going to be doubled. We're going to hit 50,000, and that stock market's going to double in a relatively short period of time. I mean,
this is such boomer economics because the assumption there is that the stock market is wealth for the general public. But we all know, as modest Americans, we all know that this is untrue. He's absolutely delusional. This might not really fit, but I had to put this in here too. This is Trump talking about how they sold the election and then there's going to be justice coming.
Are you thousands of miles away, separated by a giant ocean? It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. You can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased, terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it. When I win in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and they only get negative press. That means that it has no credibility. And if they're going to get credibility, they're going to have to be fair. So you need a fair press. But you also need those other elements. And I inherited a terrible, terrible situation. If you look, the border was open, the inflation was raging, everything was bad with the United States when I came into office. But I also inherited a mess with Ukraine and Russia, something that would have never happened. And I know Putin very well. He and I would discuss Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye, but he wasn't going to do anything. I said, Vladimir, you're not doing it. He would never have done it. It was terrible what happened. I could see it happening, too. After I left, I could see it happening. Biden had given Ukraine.
Anyway.
Oh, this is so embarrassing. It's so hard to watch. Cameron.
Where is he? Oh, he's still with us.
He's shaking his head.
And of course, this is just like a tiny sampling. I mean, like his whole speech was like an hour and 30 minutes, and there was like follow-up questions. It was just one of these, like, for someone with ADD, it was very difficult to listen to, because he's just, and a little bit of the windmills, and the stolen election,
and I did this.
We're gonna build a giant iron golden dome over America once we get Greenland. I mean Iceland. I mean this and that, and it was just all the fuck over the place. It was like it didn't mean anything. There was no story. There was no like, here's where we are, here's where we're going to go. It was just a lot of like, look at all of the wonderful things that I did. By the way, the stock market, it's going to be 100,000 on the Dow. We're doing so great. Golden age, golden dome, golden showers. No, I'm kidding. But man, Cameron, give us your take. I'm assuming that you watched this entire thing.
I didn't, because it's just too difficult.
Yeah.
I have been accused on many occasions, as you folks know, of having Trump derangement syndrome, and to some degree, I suppose at this stage I wear that with a badge of honor. But what we're seeing is it's just sad. It's a Shakespearean tragedy. Setting aside the politics of things, which we'll get into in just a moment, and really the corruption. The corruption, I think, is the major takeaway from Trump this go around. I think Trump was always flirting with untoward behavior. We've talked about that. But the sheer venality, the naked corruption that is associated with his capitulation to the Jewish power structure, because that's really what's on display in my view. And I'm going to explain in a moment what exactly I mean. But he's laboring. He's senile. He's exactly as Dave described. He's incoherent. He's inarticulate. He's lost. And one wonders how much longer this can continue before people pay attention. And one of the things I've noticed is that if you consider the media coverage from Trump 2 to Trump 1, it is truly night and day. I don't think he could have gotten away with a quarter of that discombobulated stream of consciousness 4 years ago, certainly not 8 years ago, that he's getting away with today. And who's saying anything about this? That's what's concerning to me. I just haven't seen a lot of legitimate analysis saying that this man is mentally in decline, in serious decline, and should not be the commander-in-chief anymore. I mean, that's what I see. I guess I ask you guys, is that what you see? Because that's what I see.
Yeah, definitely. He's constantly losing his train of thought, and he's kind of reverting to his id, which is just to self-promote. Mm-hmm. And or would it be his ego? I don't know. I mean,
ego.
Yeah, he's just
look at what I've done.
Yeah, that's all he's doing. It seems like he's becoming more childlike and even more basic than he was initially, and he didn't have a lot of substance from the start.
Well, I mean, my kind of thing on this, because like when you look at it in context with these other speeches and we're going to take a look at some of this other stuff. We do have this clip of Howard Lutnick that I want to play. But, Trump gets up and he's trying to do the same thing that he was doing on the campaign trail. It's like the same kind of rhetoric that we were seeing when he was going around for this most recent election. He was treating it like a campaign event. And I guess to the MAGA, whatever's left of it, MAGA base, this is supposed to be like a big old middle finger to the WEF, which, by the way, there's been a sea change at the WEF that we haven't really discussed yet, which is it used to be Klaus Schwab's thing. Klaus was the guy running it, and now it's Larry Fink.
Larry Fink.
From BlackRock, the Jewish guy who basically took our economy over after the 2008 financial crisis, who is now in charge of all of, the basic, I mean, whatever the CIA is, BlackRock is kind of there too. Mm-hmm. They're like a financial weapon.
Yes.
What book was that? The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Well, Larry Fink is an economic hitman, and now he's in charge of the WEF. But isn't it so based? Klaus Schwab is gone.
Right.
We've got Americans there now. We took over. And so we're starting to see some of this rhetoric, especially coming from people like Howard Lutnick, and we're going to watch this clip, and all of these kind of sycophantic tweets coming. Globalism just died in Davos.
Like these people aren't the biggest advocates for worldwide Jewry.
Right. Well, and that's exactly it. So I'll play the clip so you can kind of see the slop that the MAGA people are being served, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. And he's going to talk to us about bringing manufacturing back here and the importance of the American worker. Let's have a little discussion about H-1Bs, guys.
Right.
That just cries out as he strikes you.
I guess, what I wanted to point out here is that on the one hand, we've had this kind of post-war elite, post-war consensus, democratic liberalism, plus like communism and all this other bullshit that's been going on. And so when you look at people like George Soros, he represents a vein on the left of Jewish internationalists that have essentially been running the show for the past, 50 years. This is kind of a declaration from Jewish nationalists that they're in control, right? We've seen the video clips of Jonathan Pollard at the Knesset talking about we need Israel first. We've got Donald Trump, the biggest Jew puppet president that this country has ever seen, who's taken hundreds of millions of dollars from the Adelsons and Paul Singer and all these other people, who's doing everything for Israel and very little, if anything, for America. So that's what this is. It's a change in tone that we've seen. It's a change in rhetoric that we've seen. But essentially, it was just the Jewish internationalists are taken out by the Jewish nationalists. So I wanted to put a point on that. I don't know if anyone else is even discussing this, but that's what I'm seeing from this. And it's interesting that we've got some people and I want to play this clip too. Because we've got people like Scott Bessent, who are now, he's in charge of the Treasury.
Ironic that Governor Newsom.
Quiet, Scott.
Not yet, Scott. I'm getting my clips lined up, Scott. You're interrupting me. But so we've got this clip here from Mario Nafwal. Secretary Bessent at Davos. Newsom knows less about economics than Kamala. Here with billionaire sugar daddy Alex Soros. Here, I'll play.
I think it's very, very ironic that Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros. And the Davos is a perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry, and I'm sure the California people won't forget that.
So essentially we got mean tweets. We got some mean tweets going on in the form of these speeches at Davos. But like, here's the point that a lot of people are missing, and a lot of people are falling for the slop. And I don't want you to fall for the slop. Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, a homosexual, worked for George Soros not just once, but twice for a total of 13 years in George Soros' service. By the way, he also has purchased 2 children, which last time I checked makes him a human trafficker. This is your based Treasury Secretary. And so here's the AI, whatever, Google overview about how he worked for Soros Fund Management from 91 to 2000, where he ran the London office. This was with what Cam was talking about when they were doing the bond vigilantism over in England. And then he comes back as chief investment officer before starting his own fund. But essentially all that he's really done is he's gone from working for a Jewish internationalist, George Soros. Now he's working for Jewish nationalist Howard Lutnick. That's what's going on here.
It's a difference without a distinction, of course.
It has a distinction and a difference. The problem is that this is not Americans putting America first.
Right, of course.
This is Jews that are co-opting the language. The things that we've been saying for 10 years are now coming out of the mouth of Howard Lutnick.
I know.
And it has nothing to do with America. It has to do with the fact that Israel is dependent on America. Israel is dependent on American exports, American arms, American manufacturing, American supply chains. And if we cut the cord with Israel, they would be up Schitt's Creek. And they see that very clearly. And the Likud, have been calling for America to cut the aid because they've got golden handcuffs right now. And they don't want that. They don't want to see a Democratic administration come in 2030 and start cutting the cord.
Yeah.
And that's, or 2028. That's what this is about. And so you've got the old world order, which was like, Goyim, what's his name? Help me. Klaus Schwab, right? You got Goyim frontmen like Klaus Schwab, which I don't believe he's Jewish.
Really?
Or am I wrong about that?
Let me look it up. Keep going.
Please look it up.
I don't think he is.
I don't think he's Jewish. He's a Goyish German that is doing the bidding of the internationalist Jews. Now we got Larry Fink, who's taken control, and now the Jews are the front men, and they're doing their thing for their people, and then dressing it up to make it look like America first, trying to sell it back to the Americans. Also, take note that all of these speeches are in English. This is not designed for a European audience.
It's not.
This is not when Macron gets on stage with his fucking aviator sunglasses to look like Joe Biden, and he's speaking in English. He's not talking to the French people. They're not talking to the Germans. They're talking to Americans.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's my kind of take on a lot of this stuff.
So
go ahead.
So let's chat about this in a bit more disciplined and mechanistic fashion, because I think what has happened is a kind of heist, the likes of which we have never seen in the United States. And this is really about Donald Trump, backed by international Jewry, as you say, centered in New York City, the city of London, and certainly orchestrating influence from Jerusalem, and a president who is narcissistic, is senile, is extremely sensitive to flattery. And I think he has been fully captured in ways that are unprecedented in the history of the United States. Let me say as a prefatory remark as well, that I think Rebecca was right. Rebecca said last week that part of what's happening with Donald Trump is that he's on a high horse. He's on an emotional high because of this publicity stunt in Venezuela that appears to have at least successfully distracted the public. Although, as we said on this program, that would be short-lived and it would sort of disappear. And I think it has, because there's no there with Venezuela for all kinds of reasons. Then there's this sort of fiasco in Greenland. bullying the Europeans into acquiring a territory that we already dominate, where there's already a military base, where we cannot rapidly scale up access to natural resources or rare earths, is not a game changer. But this is another thing that sort of strokes the ego of the president. And remember, all the while that this is happening, the president is getting extremely rich, which appears to be whatever else he does and whatever else he may be, top of mind for the president. He's always bragging about his wealth, and he seems to fixate on enrichment above all other things. And a lot of the folks that are in his cohort, it's not just that they're Jews, it's also that they're billionaires. And he seems to prioritize that. Okay, so setting that aside, the ego, the emotional high, the sort of impressionable nature that he has, the susceptibility to flatter, these things that Rebecca talked about last week. You also have a man in a movement that ostensibly was supposed to challenge the World Economic Forum. Now, what is the World Economic Forum? What is the character of this international structure that has, let's face it, destroyed the world in many ways? Whether you're talking about non-governmental organizations, you're talking about foundations, you're talking about the International Monetary Fund, you're talking about the World Bank, you're talking about the Bank of International Settlement, all of these things that essentially were the product of the world wars, which have been subverted, co-opted. In some cases, they were purposely set up so that a third rail, Jewish bankers, international globalists, these kinds of folks, war profiteers, intelligence agencies could all avail themselves. They could get rich and they could leverage influence and power through them. It's all sort of coming together in what Donald Trump appears to be doing. What he appears to be doing is co-opting a structure that was designed essentially to launder money or to wash cash. And very specifically, just to be clear on this, there's a very good video that was put together by Academic Agent. I encourage all of you to watch it, called Tony Blair's Triple Shakedown, How NGOs Run the World. And the case that Academic Agent makes, and I think there are many that have made this case, and I think it's correct, is that at core, what all of these sort of foundations are, and there are many, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. Bookmark that, because I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But all of these things, which are multi-billion-dollar foundations, and they're all tied in with the World Economic Forum and the rest of these things, they're all essentially designed to launder money in some way, shape, or form. Now, Academic Agent happens to emphasize the importance of intelligence agencies in that, and no doubt that's the case. There's illicit money of all kinds that's churning through these things. And remember, the president and the MAGA movement were supposed to challenge that. Well, that's not what's actually happening. What actually appears to be happening, and there was an article that was recently released about this, written by a friend of mine, called Trump's Board of Peace Scam. It's in the Telegram notes.
Yep.
And if you read through this article, what this describes is this new sort of international organization that's being sponsored by the president and some of his core advisors underneath this UN Security Council Resolution 2803, which ostensibly was this sort of plan to create peace in Gaza. That was the idea of the Security Council resolution, a peace process that appears to be flawed from inception, but that's neither here nor there for the moment. But if you look at the structure of this organization, this Board of Peace, there's a few things that are noteworthy. The first is that this charter is a private organization that is run specifically by Donald J. Trump and with dictatorial powers. So the president of the United States is not just identified as the leader of this, but because this is an international organization, it is exonerated from a lot of the laws that would normally apply to domestic institutions, accounting laws, for example, or other kinds of regulations. Now, this board, which is run by the president, has member nations within it. So again, if you look at the structure, you'll see it says Board of Peace, board members, and these are basically member nations. If you read a little bit further into the details, and there's a paragraph that's, I think, middle of the essay, Dave, it says the actual board itself is currently being built as a political body with membership restricted to states. Now, this is key. It says membership is time limited to 3 years. So these are states that basically sign and ratify this charter that, as I said, has been endorsed by the president for this Board of Peace underneath this UN Security Council. They can sit on this board for 3 years unless they contribute over $1 billion within the first year. Now, Pascal says, clearly this is intended as a scheme to make interested parties pay up at the very beginning and fill up the Board of Peace coffers. Now, this is very important. If you go farther down, beneath the political board sits an executive board. And on that executive board are appointed members by the president, by President Trump. Now, who are these founding members? Well, there's a few names that are identified. Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and, that's interesting, Tony Blair. Now, I mentioned a moment ago the Tony Blair Institute. According to Academic Agent, and I think he's right, the Tony Blair Institute is one of the largest, if not the largest, non-governmental organizations in the world. And it is essentially a front for all manner of illicit money and washing cash. That's what it is. In any case, this entire Board of Peace is basically an international organization that's designed for the President of the United States to wash money with his billionaire friends, to make immense amounts of cash through an international organization that's supposedly designed to facilitate peace around the world. That is what the President of the United States is doing. That is, it seems to me, exactly what the World Economic Forum was all about, what all of these international institutions are all about. This is what the President of the United States is engaging in. The worst kind of flagrant corruption that I think I've ever witnessed or ever heard of in an American president.
Unbelievable.
This is outrageous. I'm surprised that more people aren't appalled, but people are really falling for this bait.
Yeah.
That they're so based.
Globalism's over. Look, you said
America
something mean
first.
about Alex Soros.
Right.
Blah blah blah. It's not gonna do fucking anything.
Right.
And it's not gonna stop what's coming in this country, in other countries, throughout the world. We're not gonna have time to get into it today, but there was all this unrest in Minneapolis over the weekend. We might have touched on it a bit on Monday. But there were all of these protesters that were going through. There's usually protesters at the World Economic Forum in the G8. Antifa usually gets called out. And in Minneapolis, there was people storming a church. And none of these peace deals or World Economic Forum talks, none of that is going to put the brakes on what has been happening in this country. So you need to be prepared. And you need to visit our friends at ODGG Supply to get prepared. They've got all kinds of stuff. Bulletproof vests, blankies, helmets.
If you live in Minneapolis, you'll need it.
Yeah, and speaking of, it might be a little bit too late, but there's this big weather storm that's headed towards the East Coast right now. There's like an ice storm and then like a winter storm. Power might go out over the weekend. So, it's a little late, but if you use promo code Backlash25, you could order some blankies and some stoves just in case your power goes out. You don't want to be in a situation where you're not prepared. So please visit odggsupply.com and get stocked up on all of the essentials. Be sure to check out their catalog. They've got ape-approved gear, which of course has nothing. Where did the ape-approved gear go? It's here somewhere. But anyway, they've got bags and packs. They've got shelters, tarps, all kinds of stuff that you need. Night vision and thermals. They've got some very good deals.
Oh, they have night vision?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That seems fun.
They've got like lasers for your guns, body armor, all kinds of stuff. So please visit ODGG Supply and get prepped, because no amount of planning from these people at the WEF, and none of these schemes for peace in the Middle East are going to fundamentally change anything. You've got to take your own side and be prepared.
Absolutely.
ODGGsupply.com.
While we're still talking about Davos, I did want to mention this AI connection. Actually, in Trump's speech, he talked about how he built all the data centers and it's so beneficial to our economy. Oh, man, I wish I would have clipped that. Can you pull up 21, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So I read this tweet, and it was exactly what I was thinking. WEF has almost entirely dropped its eat bugs climate change rhetoric in favor of putting AI in everything. AI, still trying to figure out why. And I was thinking about this. I think that this is a widespread monitoring effort. Can you pull up 23? So Bill Gates they always present these things as though it's a great humanitarian triumph, when really they're just trying to collect our data. We don't have to watch this whole thing, but what Bill Gates is saying here makes me very concerned.
Let's take a look.
So the AI is entering into the health system, but not just into the health system, it's all the way down to the level of the patient. So the patient is able to talk in their local language and describe what's going on. And so in order to make this a reality, to see what works, what doesn't work, we're thrilled that OpenAI and the Gates Foundation are committing an initiative called Horizon 1000, where we'll go into 1,000 primary healthcare clinics in Africa. And the goal is to make the work there much higher quality and, if possible, twice as efficient as it is today, taking away the paperwork that needs to be done, organizing the resources, so the patient knows what's available and when to come for their appointment. So there's all sorts of things can be improved. Rwanda has been a great partner for the Gates Foundation in
That's
a lot
good.
of
He
things.
goes on to talk about basically mass data collection. They really do. The Gates Foundation likes to soft launch their insidious projects in Africa.
Didn't they murder a bunch of people a couple of years ago with their polio vaccine?
Indeed, they did.
Not that I really care about Africans.
What's wrong with you?
Sorry, I'm gonna get people. Dave cares too much about black people. All right, well, whatever. I don't
But
care.
I said to think
but it's
about
wrong. They're
African-
murdering people.
So I started to think, because we talk all the time about monitoring and how that's going to converge with the surveillance state and AI and how they're going to use all the information that they, of course, have on us. So let's pull up 24, because I think that really at the heart of all of this, of course, what Cameron talked about is probably the main motivation for much of the discussion at WEF. But I think that criminalizing antisemitism seems to also be a major point in a lot of these speeches. Let's go ahead and watch this. This is the president of the Conference of European Rabbis.
Especially in Germany, you are facing a rise of anti-Semitism, but we are facing this all over the world. So I would like to hear what is your perspective on this.
The 7th of October has created turbulence in the whole world. A tremendous rise of anti-Semitism, organized, state-sponsored in many instances, in universities, on the streets, and a rise of 500%, maybe some instances to 1,000% of anti-Semitic acts. And there has also been a reaction of Europe. I think the rise of the extreme right in many European countries is a response to the insecurity felt by the old Europeans, so-called old Europeans, regarding the new immigrants who came from the Middle East. So I think that fighting Islamophobia and anti-Semitism is an interest of both religions and both communities. And when we do it together, it's going to be much more useful. We have created under also the Saudi umbrella more than 10 years ago, the Muslim Jewish Leadership Council, and which was successful. And we believe that we have to go this way if we want to make sure that every European can live in peace and walk in peace in the streets.
Yeah, because Jews and Muslims are famously natural allies.
Actually, they are. It was the Jews that opened the gates of Toledo and ushered in 700 years of Spanish occupation in the Iberian Peninsula. Actually. And it's so interesting to see, right? Because you got Donald Trump on the one hand enriching himself with all of these billionaires. And then on the other side of the pincer movement is these people making it illegal to point out who the billionaires are. So they're taking all the money and then making it illegal to be like, why do they have all the money?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they have all the power? Unbelievable.
So let's see what the plan is. I mean, they've obviously built this framework that anti-Semitism is a terrible problem that's endangering Jews across the world. So what are they going to do with all this information that they're collecting? Can we play 25?
Yeah.
Had to say. We created something called the Legal Action Network. We've assembled 50 of the top law firms in the United States to create a pro bono coterie of literally like 50,000 lawyers. And so now when you enter in an incident at ADL, it instantly gets evaluated by our AI systems. Is there a litigation opportunity? And we feed it to the lawyers to evaluate and to find someone to take the case. So it used to be that, again, if you had a problem, you picked up the phone and called ADL, and it took us days and days to get back to you. Remember I told you 31,000 reports? Now using generative AI, I am responding instantly. And if you enter that something happened to you, for example, say your kid got bullied at or your kid had a teacher at middle school, a social studies teacher, who again, this oppressed craziness, and held out your kid, you enter it in, and our Gen AI can literally on the spot generate a letter for you to send to LAUSD that will automatically, okay, this is the chairman of the board of education. This is the superintendent of schools. This is the name of the principal of that specific school. We'll generate the letter real time and send it out for you. And at the same time, launch a petition that we can push to the city council and so on and so forth.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Wow, Jen
They're
Ann.
going to lawfare us to death.
Oh, yeah.
If they aren't able to criminalize anti-Semitic language, which I'm very concerned is going to happen. I walked in here today and Dave was like, well, we're going to jail. All of us are going to jail. But something like this is happening. Now we're back in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Full circle on this show because we run a tight show. Let's play 25.
We started in Miami.
Ending in Miami.
And now we're ending in Miami.
Now, like, you truly will not believe what you're about to see. The mayor of Miami Beach sent police officers, taxpayer dollar police officers, to the home of a private U.S. citizen after she criticized the mayor on Facebook over his pro-Israel stance. Let's watch the video.
Picture to make sure it's you. We're not sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present.
Good
so
for her.
I really don't know how to answer that question either.
Well, like I said, you're not going to
This is
jail.
freedom of speech. This is America, right?
And
A
I-
veteran.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
We're
All right.
just trying to see if it's you, because if we're not talking to the right person, we want to go see who the right person
Okay,
is.
how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as,
Verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. Even leaves the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you're all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
You don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning for the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Understood.
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about. And we wanted to get your side if it was you that posted that. I would think to refrain from posting things like that, because that can get something
I
incited.
appreciate your concern. I appreciate you coming out here.
Okay?
That's it?
That is it.
Okay.
I'm going to maintain my amendment rights to not answer the question about whether or not that's real. I hope
Thank
that's
you for your time.
understandable.
We appreciate it.
Thank you
Have
as
a good day,
well.
okay?
You as well. Thank you. Take care.
That is just unreal. What an egregiously expanded definition of incitement.
Oh my God. Is that guy, is he even American? He sounds like an Israeli Jew.
I don't know what was going on there, but this is just incredible that this is happening. And I think that this is our future. This is what is being evidenced by what is happening in Australia, by the World Economic Forum, and the jargon that they're using.
Yeah. No.
I'm very, very concerned about this.
And you should be. I did a live stream on Friday last week I'm going to be doing more of thanks to Cameron, trying to add some structure and rein in my ADD a little bit. We're going to get the trains running on time here at Backlash Media. But I did a live stream last week calling it Legislature 101. It's trying to, because, we all get involved in this movement at one point or another. And, we were sleeping through civics class. We don't really know how any of this stuff works. And, there's a lot of blackpilling out there. Yeah, I know my wife is cooking something delicious upstairs.
It smells really good.
But there's a lot of blackpilling out there and a lot of people that think that it's hopeless and that we shouldn't be involved, that, it doesn't matter what we do. They're just going to, cram shit down our throats. And they very well may, but we need to go down fighting. We need to fight for our rights, our freedom of speech in this country, and we need to be able to, engage. And so, when you came over, I was bitching because one of the things that I was talking about in this video was a piece of legislation that has been introduced into Idaho, and it has to do with, hold on, let's see, let me pull up the tweet about it. There was a piece of legislation that was introduced into the House Judiciary Committee last week, and it's this masked intimidation bill, right? And so basically what they're saying is like, if somebody commits a murder and they're wearing a mask, or if they're like committing a rape and they wear a mask, what this does is it allows the judge to tack on additional years to the person's sentence and felony and all this kind of stuff. But the way that the actual bill is written, it actually would apply to anybody that is wearing a hoodie. If you're wearing a hoodie, that counts as a disguise.
In the commission of what kind of crime?
Any crime.
Oh, no.
Any crime. So, whatever the case may be, whatever crime it is, if you're wearing a hoodie, if you're wearing a medical mask, if you're wearing a baklava, or if you're wearing a scarf.
So you're telling me, at our meetup when we were about to get trespassed,
yes,
that if any of us were wearing hoodies, we could be felons for this?
At least misdemeanors.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Oh yeah, big time. And this bill is on the wish list of a group called the Idaho-Israel Alliance, which is seeking to get this masked intimidation bill, the adoption of the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which of course would mean if I say, hey, I kind of think Ben Shapiro might be more loyal to Israel than America, that violates the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, and that they want to be a crime. So if I commit the crime of violating this definition of anti-Semitism while wearing a hoodie, while wearing a medical mask, while wearing a scarf, I would then be charged with IHRA plus masked intimidation.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And just today, literally moments before we went live, that bill made its way out of committee. No thanks to Representative Joe Alfieri from Coeur d'Alene, who, by the way, I helped get fucking elected.
Ruh-roh.
He would not be in office if it weren't for what I did back in 2022 when I ran for governor. So thanks, I guess.
Heather
no
Scott
thanks.
voted no?
No. So here's the tweet. No thanks to Representative Joe for Idaho, Joe Alfieri. The Israeli-backed anti-mass intimidation bill passed out of the House Judiciary Committee by a vote of 8-7. Representatives Heather Scott, Dale Hawkins, and Barbara Ehart, they voted not to pass the bill. They said, no, this isn't a good idea. And it's very interesting. Got to give props where it's due. Barbara Ehart was brought by Israel on a trip paid for by the Israeli Foreign Affairs Committee. And she voted no on it. So, maybe she found a little bit of backbone. Got to give some props there. But this is why it is so important to email your representatives. You've got to email, that's Representative Heather Scott. That's not what I'm talking about here. You've got to email your representative. So if you can go to the Idaho Tribune page, there's a link here. I would highly encourage all of you to please go and email the Idaho House of Representatives. Tell them to vote no on the mass intimidation bill. Tell them to vote no on all of these bills that are being pushed by the Idaho-Israel Alliance, which has been rebranded to the Idaho-Jewish Alliance.
Right.
But it could very well be that in about 4 months, this show is illegal in the state.
Absolutely. And people might think this is a niche Idaho issue, but they are targeting states with a large number of conservatives. So look into your state. I guarantee there is some kind of legislation brewing that is of this thread.
Yep.
It's outrageous. It could affect all of us.
And it's what the World Economic Forum is pushing for now. It's what Israel, and by the way, the people behind, and please go watch, if you haven't already, please go watch this video that I did a couple days ago, Stop Complaining, Start Participating, Legislature 101, because I got into the nitty gritty about who the Idaho-Israel Alliance is. These are people from Israel. They were born in Israel, served in the Israeli Defense Forces, then moved to Idaho 2 or 3 years ago, and are now lobbying the Idaho government to make Rebecca and I's speech illegal. And, sure, I guess we could just throw up our hands and say, voting doesn't change anything and fuck politics, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, Dave, I will start voting.
You got to start engaging. This is great.
No, I'm telling you, this is I will start voting.
Let's put some pressure on these people, because I was on the phone with a representative yesterday and I said, listen, I know that you've got crazy leftists in masks in Boise that are protesting for Gaza, and they're full of shit, and they're fat, and they're ugly, and no one likes them, and they're rude, and frankly, they make this whole Gaza thing, they make it look ridiculous, and I get that. So if you want to pass a bill to criminalize these leftists, okay, I hear you. I'd love to make communism illegal, and I'd love to throw anyone in Antifa in jail. I hear you. But this is to combat anti-Semitism in Idaho? Well, you don't really have an anti-Semitism problem in Idaho.
No, indeed.
But you will. And I'll make sure that it happens. Personally, I will drive to Boise and wear the Nick Fuentes was right about Israel hoodie, and I will raise hell. If you try to restrict the legal speech of Americans in this state and make it so that we can't have a reasonable conversation, we can't discuss these ideas, if you're going to make that illegal, you're going to have a fucking problem.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to make
see
sure
if we actually have any constitutional protections. Before we move on to Super Chats, Cameron, I wanted to get a little bit of your input on what you think WEF is trying to do, and are we just spinning webs here, or is this really related to some larger surveillance campaign and legislation to criminalize anti-Semitic speech?
Well, you guys are scarred, and I've talked about this before. You're stuck 10 years ago, both of you, and I've tried to tell you the world has changed, and you don't listen to me, you don't believe me, and I understand, I do. Time makes more converts than reason. That's what Thomas Paine said. The WEF is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Who gives a shit what they say, what they do? It's a phony baloney, made up thing. Right? You said it yourself, Dave. What was all the rage a few years ago? Climate change. Now it's disappeared. These organizations are collapsing. They're collapsing because of fraud. They're collapsing because of rank corruption. They are increasingly irrelevant. Now, I understand reflexively you're going to say, but the president of the United States, he flew to WEF, and Howard Lutnick gave a speech, and Scott Besson, and so forth. What did we talk about at the beginning of this program? We talked about a group of influencers who have, 15 million some odd followers that went to a Miami nightclub and sort of beclowned themselves. But how did they become famous? Because they've sort of chided the power structure. What's become of them? They become rich and famous, most of them. They're not disappeared in some prison somewhere. And their popularity is only accumulating, whether you like them or not. And a lot of it is because they've talked about the JQ, okay? Then we talked about Japan. What did I say? the yen is the second most important currency in the world, and it is collapsing. And what is the base layer of Jewish power in the world? It's not the courts. It's not anti-defamation law, right? It's not the ADL. It's the banking system. It's the financial system. And that system is collapsing. It's cratering. And I'll tell you further that this sort of awareness of the JQ is feverish everywhere, not just in the United States, all over the place. It's over. It lost. It's out of the bag. Now, yes, they have corrupted and they dominate the Trump administration. But the Trump administration, to be fair to the president, inherited a catastrophe. Now, Donald Trump may think in his delusional, senescent mind that all of a sudden that disaster has been fixed in 12 months. All of this incredible, unprecedented war that he would have stopped, it's all better now because he's been in there 12 months. Very convincing argument, Mr. Trump. No, it's not over. None of these problems have been fixed. And these publicity stunts, they're not going to convince anybody for very long. Whether it's this distraction in Greenland, which is what it is, it's an irrelevant distraction. Who cares? Are the Chinese massing off the coast to invade Greenland? What about the Russians? No, they're looking at us like, what's happening here? This is a great power. This is the colossal leader of a power that dominates the world? No, that's not what they're saying. They're saying that this is a country that's careening out of control, because it is, in large measure, because of the Jewish power structure that's lost the plot. They've lost. And you both need to start reframing and reorganizing your thoughts about this, because we need to start playing offense, not defense. And I understand what you're saying, Dave. You do need to be engaged and you do need to pay attention to these things. But here's the difference. 10 years ago, these were arcane issues that very few people talked about. They were subterranean. And the only people that really engaged in that kind of discourse were evil white supremacists. Well, now it's mainstream. And it's mainstream in ways that are palatable, that are visceral, largely because the Jews have wiped out tens of thousands of people, many of whom were innocent children. And they're waging war against Iran and anybody else they can with our forces. And this is now not conspiracy theory. This is well known. This is being talked about by probably the most important journalist in the world, Tucker Carlson, who just platformed and hosted Fishback, who was on our show. And then our show was talked about in The Nation. Yeah, maybe most of our watchers aren't going to read that. But at the end of the day, this entire culture has changed. We're in a different world.
Yeah. And listen, speaking of the Donbass, speaking of the war that's going on in Ukraine, you really can't listen to what all the big talking heads on TV have to say about it. You got to take it from someone that was there. And you know what? I think we've actually got someone that was there. I got to give a big shout out to Cameron, who was on the Expat American channel a couple of days ago. He took a trip. He's on his way back from the Donbass. I think, is that him standing in the ruins? Yes, it is. So he actually went there to the war-torn cities in the Donbass and surveyed what's been going on in this war between Russia, Ukraine, essentially America and Russia. And so go take a look at that video and you'll learn a lot about what's been going on over there. Just had to give that a big shout out. It is up, of course, on our Backlash Twitter
Cameron's,
account.
he doesn't have, he's so humble.
He
won't self-promote.
He's not good at reading ads. He's not good at the self-promotion.
And this was such a good interview. It was such a good discussion. The footage was amazing. And so I really encourage all of you to watch it. It is on Expatriate's channel.
Expatriate. Is it YouTube?
Expat American.
Expat American. Here, hold on. Let me get bigger on that. Expat American. You can also find it on our Twitter X account. We posted a link to it here. If you just search Donbass, this will probably be the only tweet that we have up about it. But go check that out. It's very good. Do we have any more legally required? I believe we do have one more contractual obligation. That is, we got to give a big shout out to North Idaho Tallow Company for soap and skincare that is made without endocrine disruptors. It will keep you healthy. It'll make you smell nice. It won't
I don't
make
think you can
gay.
say it'll keep you healthy.
Well, okay. Okay, you're right about that. I take that back. It won't keep you healthy, but it won't do anything negative to your health either. They've got soap, balm, lip balm, candles made without soy. You can do all of your shopping for soap and skincare products with North Idaho Tallow Company. They've also got a signature ready-to-gift Valentine's Day box for a special someone in your life. If you want to grab something like that and not have to worry about all of the wrapping, you can get it mailed directly to them. So visit idahotallow.com. And of course, when you patronize them, they patronize us. It's one big patronage network, really.
And then Dave patronizes me?
All the time. So visit idahotallow.com. And remember, you can get to all of our affiliate links on our website, gold and silver, soap and skincare, books, Bitcoin, beef snacks, and more at thebacklash.net. Please get in your last minute super chats, questions you want answered. We do have some snail mail.
Oh, cool.
We have some snail mail that I forgot to read. We got these for like Christmas, and then I reorganized my office and they got lost in the shuffle. But for those of you that want to send a snail mail, you can do that to The Backlash at P.O. Box 853, Post Falls, Idaho 83877. And we've been having some very good luck with the mail because all of these came with cash money.
No way.
Yeah, very
Awesome.
happy about that. So we've got Mr. Erickson from Iowa, who sent us a Merry Christmas card to Rebecca and Dave, wishing you a bright, happy memories tucked between Christmas moments that you love. Great show, great guests. Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that one. And we've got another one from Mr. Abraham in New Jersey. He said, and a happy new year. 50 boomer bucks for you. I always watch your Wednesday show. Merry Christmas. And then he doxed himself. So we're going to put that aside. Thank you very much for the boomer bucks. We appreciate it. And then we got a letter from Mr. Colton in Michigan. And I have no idea where that letter actually went, but thank you for that. And from our friend Matt in Wenatchee, I wanted to send you at least something this paycheck cycle. I needed to redirect my tithe for this paycheck to rent out a church building for the year's Easter service. My apologies. Don't apologize for that, man.
Of course not.
Appreciate you guys. Well, listen, Matt from Wenatchee, we appreciate you big time. And so, yeah, if you want to send us some snail mail, perhaps some Nazi flags or
No, don't do that.
Hitler postcard stamps or whatever, you could do that at P.O. Box 853, Post Falls, Idaho.
Let's take some super chats. Get your last one super chats into the
837.
backlash.net/super
And
chat.
I have to apologize because we are going to be doing some fundraising here pretty soon. I was hoping to have it up, but we're going to be doing a black tie dinner here at the end of February. We're going to have more information on that forthcoming. It's going to be a great evening, great guests, great people to hang out with. We'll be doing brunch on Saturday.
So if you want to come hang out with us,
Mark your calendars. It'll be February 27th and 28th, and we will have a place online to get registered for that as a precursor to our big event with speakers and all that. We need to raise some funds before we can get to that point. So intermediate steps.
we're clawing our way to the middle. That's what's going on.
Amen. It'll be very good. Let's start over on Entropy tonight.
Sure.
We've got Lizard Killer who donated $25. Thank you for the big super chat. Damn it, Dave. This was your gayest take yet. All those brown losers have taken the Jew gold and are only here to subvert the pro-white movement. This is y'all's opportunity to blast them on social media for being fake and gay and then post based clips of this show to bring in all the white followers that those fags are hemorrhaging.
I tried.
So number one, I don't think that they're hemorrhaging people at all. I think that there's like, again, like a small group of like malcontents out there that are just, you know, they're trying to gain market share in the media marketplace. I'm not engaging in that personally, but like I do want to point out this tweet from my former boss, E. Michael Jones, who said regarding Nick Fuentes that the only thing that comes out of his mouth is Jew money. Bro, he hasn't even signed the deal yet. He hasn't even taken a dime. He does not have an advertising agreement with a gold company yet. We do, atlasbullion.com/backlash.
I know, my instinct is to criticize him, but we are shilling to the max.
Dude, if he can get like millions of dollars to shill Jew gold, more power to him. Now, the instant that any advertiser starts dictating to an influencer what they can and can't talk about, they've got to end that relationship. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why we shill for Above Time and Atlas Bullion and Antelope.
None of these people have said anything to us about anything ever.
Not one of them has ever said, please don't talk about that. Don't mention this. Can you stay away from this topic?
Never.
All of them are just like, do what you do. Let's make money. And we're rubbing our hands and doing it. But, you know, it's so fucking disingenuous to see this guy come out and say the only thing that comes out of his mouth is Jew money. And it's like...
Made me laugh.
Do you know 99% of kids under the age of 25 only even know about E. Michael Jones because I spent 6 months working and begging Dr. Jones to do an interview with Nick.
Did he?
He eventually did, yeah. And he like didn't get it at all. But that whole connection between E. Michael Jones and Nick Fuentes was because I was like, hey, Doc, you did all the intellectual work with the Jewish revolutionary spirit and bare metal and all of your books. Like, why don't you help this young guy and come together and provide the intellectual backbone for what he's already saying?
Didn't work out for you, did you?
Well, yeah, no, it didn't. You know, I wound up quitting, and then Mike Bajakis took over, and he's really a jackass. And he's
Mike Bajakis is a jackass?
Yeah, yeah, go figure. And he's like a big Owen Benjamin guy. And so, yeah, I mean, I can just imagine Mike Bajakis with his fat gut sitting hunched over at a computer in the basement, salivating while writing this tweet. Because E. Michael Jones, by the way, doesn't write his own tweets. I used to write his tweets. Go back to all the based tweets in like 2018 and 2019. That was me. Okay?
All right, hustle it up, Dave.
Sorry.
You're getting a little Trumpy here.
That was me. Flayer Cake. Flayer Cake sent $14.88. No snide or sarcastic comments from me this week. Just wanted to chip in before Cam calls it a night.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, switching over to Power Chat. Power Chat. What the fuck is wrong with me? Today is the 21st. Ooh, you know what? Today is the 233rd anniversary of the beheading of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, kind of a bummer. Didn't work out that well for the French. By the way, the heir to the French throne had a big mass this morning in Paris. Don't have time for the clips, but check my timeline. It's pretty cool. Real Starfish Prime sent $10. Blonde, cans are looking great. Dave, great job producing today, and wonderful question at Fishback. Also, Dave, have you spoken to Devin Stack since spazzing out after the election? No, I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, but we'll get together. It'll be fine. The Shadow Band sent $10. What is going on here? Hold on. These overlays are spurging out one on top of each other. Okay. Yes, the AI cans looked good. The Shadow Band said $10. Whether Nick is controlled or not, he's being normalized and pushed for some reason.
Yeah.
Yep. Anonymous sent $10. The instant you entertain allowing concessions or exceptions, there's no point in continuing the path. Better to take everything and start over with people who meet your standards and lose the ones who willingly associate with oppositional diaspora.
I'm inclined to agree. And I'll be talking about this tomorrow on Academic Agent Show.
Ooh.
I will.
Very nice. What time is that?
It's at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
2
And
p.m.
I got
Eastern.
to submit my own topics for discussion.
Ooh.
And I have submitted that very topic. So
Well, I'm looking forward to watching that. That'll be good.
I just feel like waging war this week. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I'm like, why did I tweet that? I should do an interview about it.
That's funny. Book Track Groove sent $10. Dave and Rebecca, you guys are leaders of the family movement. Cameron, thank you for the info on Moscow on your other videos. Very true.
You got it. Good for you.
He's ready for bed. Anonymous sent $10. Anyone else remember Gavin giving the Proud Boys to that Brown and that guy was a Fed? Getting people arrested for January 6th shit? That's what happens when you defer to the nons. Yeah, you're thinking of Enrique Tarrio.
Enrique Tarrio, that's right.
Yeah, Enrique was like, wasn't he like a felon? And he was walking around D.C. with guns. You can't do that kind of stuff, guys. Marx Lives sent $10. Nativists will be forced to work inside the system. Dems and Republicans will never patcon communist collectives that work for revolution within and inside the system. X treats them as a neutral group. Are you suggesting that communists are going to make America first? Is that what this is?
I don't accept the premise of the statement, which is the system is going to dominate anything. The system is imploding. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe he didn't say it was
You
irrelevant.
know what this is coming from? This is coming because I went on a space with Haas a couple nights ago, and I called him a short, angry midget.
Who? You're always name dropping. I have no idea who you're talking
You don't know who Haas is?
No. Do you know who that is?
He's the vice chairman of the American Communist Party. He works with Jackson Hinkle and all the weird...
I know Jackson Hinkle.
Okay, yeah. Haas is the short, ugly, hairy, short, low IQ...
How short are we talking?
Sidekick. Very shorter than Beardson.
Is Beardson actually short?
Only in his dreams. Only in Haas's dreams.
Oh.
Beardson's a Chad. He's an Aryan Chad. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, fuck these commies. Tomahawk sent $10. Hope everyone's getting ready for the coming winter storm that's supposed to cripple half the country. And Dave, you're not old. I would kill to be 37 again.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
Not bad. Not bad. I see we're being like boycotted by the super chatters.
Oh, I thought you meant by the storm.
No.
I was like, don't complain.
No, by the super chatters. It's like, I'm turning 37. And everyone's like, fuck it. I'm not super chatting tonight. Blonde's like, I'm turning 29. And everyone's like, oh.
29, 8 years in a row.
Brady Goat 88 sent $20. Cameron, looking sharp tonight.
You do look sharp, Cameron.
It's all for you guys. It's all for you.
Always look sharp. Look at that. Is that a turtleneck?
All for you guys.
No, he won't wear turtlenecks. I've asked
You
him
don't wear
before.
turtlenecks? I like turtlenecks. The beatniks, they kind of look cool. I don't know.
I think Cameron could pull off a turtleneck.
Definitely. Tomahawk sent $10. I was able to put $2,500 in silver last year. It's now worth over $9,000.
Good for you. Yeah. Well done.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about. We need our people to like get rich and keep their money. Be successful. Billy Boy sent $25. Isn't buying property a better idea than buying gold or silver?
Maybe.
Well, listen, I've been waiting for the imminent collapse of the real estate market for forever, and it hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
So a couple things on this. If you go back to the Great Depression, the housing market collapsed. And if you think that that is a precedent for what we're going into, which I do, I suggest that owning property is probably not a good idea. That's one. Two is that property values are at historic highs. Why is that? That's because of a credit bubble. So if the credit bubble deflates or collapses, which again is what we're arguing is ongoing, that suggests that you're going to get a revaluation. So again, if you look at the stock market and you go back 20 years or you go back 15 years, you see a meteoric rise. But if you price it in gold, that's not what you see. Gold and silver are not rising. Everything else is sort of being repriced in gold and silver. That's where we are. The third key to understand, folks, is that there are two financial instruments that undergird the entire financial system. One are U.S. Treasury bonds, and two are mortgage-backed securities. Virtually every major financial institution across the world holds those things. Both of those assets are toxic. So if mortgage-backed securities blow up, what does that suggest for housing prices? It's not good.
Yeah.
So I would suggest to you that what's happening is a revaluation of all assets. And what you have to ask yourself is you'll see this everywhere you go in the United States, property in all kinds of locations, Phoenix, Arizona, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, that have these massive valuations. You have to ask yourself, is that house or that condo really worth $1 million, really worth $500,000? And I think the answer you're going to come to is probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got this chart up on the screen. We will have this chart up on the screen. There it is. This is showing U.S. home price history from Reventure Consulting. Great YouTube channel, by the way. Nick Gurley over at Reventure does some good work. And so this chart very clearly shows the 2006 bubble that went up and it went down. And now we've got the COVID bubble that went up.
And it's gonna
where do you think it's going to go? Yeah. I think that
it's going to keep going up, man.
I think that boomers are going to die. I think that, if at least the flood of migrants is somewhat abated, that will have an effect on demand. If we actually start remigrating people, that will cause house prices to go down a lot. And, there is talk among those in D.C. about banning groups like Blackstone and BlackRock from buying single-family properties. I don't know where we are on that. I don't know if that's real or if that's like a grift. But they should ban Blackstone and BlackRock from buying single-family homes because they can do things like BlackRock could buy a home and then claim depreciation on it in a way that us as homeowners, like I can't claim depreciation on my own home, right? But a major stock firm over in Wall Street, they could. So if there is actually housing reform, real housing reform like that, this bubble is going to go down, and that's where you're going to want to buy. Not necessarily right now. I would maybe rent for a little bit. Not financial advice, do your own research. Tomahawk sent $10. Why isn't Bill Gates on trial for crimes against humanity?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, no, instead he's up on stage with Donald Trump at the World Economic Forum talking about how he's going to revolutionize healthcare in Africa. Again, fuck this guy. Belongs in jail. Galting sent $10 on Rumble. I assume that Dave is wearing leather chaps to go with the jacket. Kind of hot. Only when I'm on my motorcycle. Cash App. Big Mad Lad sent $10. Dave and Devin Stack seem to have opposite opinions on Fuentes. What do Blonde and Cam think about him lately? Hanging with all the brown Kalergi boys in Miami and his Epstein praising merch sales.
Well, you're going to have to go back in the podcast. We answered that at length.
True. Very true. Big Mad Lad.
I don't. I'll answer this clearly. I don't think about it, and I don't care about it.
Based.
Move on.
Amen. Anonymous sent $10. Voting the minimum we should do. I'm assuming voting is the minimum we should do, but nothing matters as much as making more white babies and raising them to be of the highest quality we possibly can and keeping the filth of the world from staining our bloodlines and futures. Amen.
I like it.
Amen. Yeah, don't let them watch Disney. Book Track Groove sent $10. Don Lemonades needs to be charged and convicted. You guys need a lawyer on retainer. Rebecca, DM question. Dave, hearing a little fussy. Go Cam, he's our man.
Dude.
Yeah, we do need to get a lawyer on retainer. And that's why we need to do a fundraiser.
We're not getting a lawyer on retainer. What an egregious
Maybe not on
waste of
retainer.
fun.
We could take the money and put it in an interest-bearing account in case we need to retain a lawyer.
Whatever.
Kidding. Big Bad Lad sent $10. As Cam is the father figure of the podcast, a Mac McGregor, it is only fitting that from now on he be referred to as Mac Daddy.
I can endorse that. I can get behind that.
Very based.
Does not fit Cameron at all.
That's funny. Okay, I think that does it for Power
I've got a few over
Chats.
here.
Very good.
Joey Morris says blonde vengeance. Yeah. Ryan Haas. I just want to say, Cameron and Rebecca, that I really appreciate you guys.
Very nice. It's okay. Sometimes I don't appreciate me.
Just remember, guys, that there is no podcast without Dave Riley.
That is absolutely true.
There'll be a podcast tomorrow without me. Tune in.
Oh, yeah.
With Academic Agent and Blonde.
That's a fact.
It'll be good. Cameron looking sharp tonight. Tomahawk. Yeah, thank you. A lot of Rumble rants tonight. Thank you very much for all the Rumble rants. Very based. Very red-pilled. All right. Well, that's it, I think.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you on Monday with Pete Quinones.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. Pete Quinones. And the following week, I'm having Radix Virum on. And that is another interview with just she and I.
Very nice.
Cameron was like, get a chick to do it with and make sure she's hot.
Rebecca, you have more on YouTube.
What?
Yeah. Our secretary just signaled to me that we have more.
More on YouTube?
Hit the refresh button.
I did. I'm refreshing.
What do you want from me?
That's it. That's all I got.
No.
That's what it says.
Clear? No. Really?
Yep. Anyway, if I miss you on YouTube,
she says there's more.
Nope, there's not.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go look at it.
We got some from the 19th.
No.
Cameron's
Our
like, oh
secretary
my God, can I
knows
go
the
to sleep?
difference between.
Yeah, I got to drop off, guys. But
it's been real, Cameron.
We'll chat again soon. I wish all of you the best. Strap yourselves in. It's going to get crazier from here. All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Strap on. Yeah, we got some right here. I'm looking at them. So Dave, that's a $2 super chat. Bitcoin fixes what? There was a lot of Bitcoin talk at the World Economic Forum. We're not getting into it.
We couldn't get into it.
Just want to say Rebecca and Cam, blah, blah, blah. Just want to give you a bit of support. Yeah, okay. No, that is it. I'm sorry. I counter-signaled.
I was right. It could have been a clean outro.
Clip that. That's going to be first time you were right.
That is incorrect. I'm right all the time. I'm right on Nick Fuentes.
She's wrong.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was a great show tonight. We will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.